But I'm passionate about real estate because real estate changed my life. I figured out right away that there were a couple of things missing in this industry. And the first thing was that I didn't know how to get to a closing. I didn't understand a clear path to get to the point where you get the check. And I remember asking my broker, just when do I get money? Like any amount of money, when do I get it? Because I can't calculate your broker thing and the stuff and the transaction and the whole thing, and and how much do I get and when do I get it? It was so hard for me to do that. So how do we get to that point? And I couldn't figure it out at all. And I realized that the number one way to make money, and this took years, to make money in the real estate industry is sell junk to realtors. That is the number one way to make money in real estate. I like to start at a really wide view and ask you a question. What does it mean to you? And if you're taking notes, that's great. If you'd like to take notes, there are some notebooks back here and some pens, and you may want to take some notes because I may say something brilliant today. I haven't yet in my whole career, but if today's the day, I really hope someone will write it down. So yeah, pass those around. So I wrote down, what does it mean to live a rich, fulfilling, meaningful life? If you're not really clear on where you're going, anyone remember Alice in Wonderland? Tell me, sir, which way shall I go? Well, that depends a great deal upon where you want to arrive. Oh, I don't suppose it matters much. Well, then it doesn't matter which way you go.
Right.
And that's really the point, is that real estate sales, and believe me, let me tell you this, we're going to, success in life, success in real estate is 80% psychology and 20% mechanics. Now most of our training, and rightfully so, is mechanics, and we're going to get to brass tacks mechanics. So for you people who are thinking, oh God, is he going to go on like this all day? No, I'm going to take it from here and we're going to nail it down to some specific bullet points that you can use today to have a more successful real estate career, especially in the topic of working with buyers. So 80% psychology, 20% mechanics. And the first part of that psychology is for you to know where the goal is. So who would share one thing, like how do you know what does a successful life look like for you? Do you want to share? You don't have to. Anybody have a thought on that?
What does a successful life look?
What does a successful life look like to you?
Listen, when you have everything that is literally coming out of your accounts, it's just like, listen, do everything and you're not worried because you know that there's always there, so therefore you're able to engage in other things.
Can anybody say can anybody say, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. What is your name?
Katrina.
Katrina, I'm Fletch. Oh, she even cued the music right there. That was profound. Yeah, okay, so you have economic security, you know your bills are paid. That's one thing. What else? What else about your life? Time. Oh, this is a big one for today's talk. Time.
Yes.
Which I'm gonna say you probably mean you choose where you appropriate your time. Yes, absolutely. Does anyone in here have someone else that likes to spend time with them that maybe you're married to or you've given birth to, or they really want your time? The best advice my dad ever gave me was when he was talking about my son, and he was like, kids spell love, T-I-M-E. I'm like, yeah, he doesn't remember what I bought him, but he always remembers when I was there at his baseball games.
Yes. Yeah.
Time.
Yes.
It is so important. And how much time does real estate take?
All of it.
Every minute you're willing to give it. Is that right? Every minute. Is there ever a time when when you go home and you have supper and you're like, wow, I just ran out of things to do today. I called everybody back and I got no one else waiting to hear from me right now. Laura, has that ever happened to you? If it did, I was probably calling her and going, help. So absolutely. So, I study philosophy. I consider myself, friends of the academics. And I study philosophy, and people have been searching for this for years and years and years, and it never is more applicable to a business where your whole paycheck is commission. Unless anyone's figured out how to make a lot of money, I've worked for every major franchise in the industry, and I've never made as much money as I've made when I've worked for myself. And I've made some pretty good money doing that. But in real estate, it's all about your performance. So what we're establishing is that real estate can fund a great life. And so what are the pitfalls of that? I want to throw this in there too. I feel like I keep walking like backstage. Is that going to work still? Excellent. So this real estate can fund a really great life. And the question is, how do we do this business in a way that guarantees that we're going to fund it? What practices do we put into place? Because there are, I think of all the other coaches out in the industry, and well, tell me when I say real estate coach, who comes to mind for you?
Fletch.
All right. Melanie, make sure he gets the check. Okay.
Tom Ferry.
Tom Ferry, absolutely. Who follows Tom or listens to his blog? Or not too many? Oh man, you guys all need to know Tom. He is a really powerful guy. I started working with Tom in 2000. And at one time I was going to go be one of his coaches when he just launched his business. And I mean, you want to talk about a success story. This guy launched his business on a shoestring. He had this little rented place. Where was it in? I don't know, Laguna or something. We flew out there, and it just was a real bad time for me. I had a brokerage and a team back in Michigan and Indiana, so it wasn't a good time for me. But Tom Ferry is the bomb. He is amazing as a coach.
Kevin Ward.
Kevin Ward, absolutely. Kevin Ward, Scripts and Dialogues, great trainer. Anybody else work with any coaches? What's that? Brian Buffini, absolutely. Brian Buffini's got his own kind of flavor there. When I was with RE/MAX, we had the RE/MAX satellite network. That was the latest technology, and Brian Buffini did all the training there. And they've got to like you, man. What is it? They've got to know you, like you, trust you, something like that. It's a little soft for me. I'm a Mike Ferry trained agent, so does anybody listen to Mike Ferry? Pretty much you either love him or you hate him. Okay? And if you've worked for him, you're probably on the hate him side. No, I'm just kidding. But I've worked for Mike, and he's very cut and dried. But you know, if you're the personality style that you want to cut the fluff out and just get the meat, you want to definitely know Mike Ferry. My team and I listened to a webinar last week with Mike, and I think he's about 120 right now, I think. And he's still doing it. He's still saying the same things he was saying back in the late 90s. By the way, how many of you have been in the business more than 10 years? In the business? Oh, there's 4 of us. You're not old enough. Put your hand down. No, not you, her.
No, I'm old enough. I don't look it.
So, yeah, more than 10 years. Okay, how many more than 5? More than 5 years. Okay, Mike back there, 5 years. Wow, how many less than 2? Leave your hand up. Less than 2. Less than 1. Wow, we have less than 1. Oh, this is great. They're not even going to know I don't know what I'm talking about. That's great. So I made some promises on the front end here. Well, let me stay on this point for a minute. How do you make money as a real estate agent?
Sell houses.
Selling houses. Yes, that would be representing a buyer and selling a house that's listed or that is available to sell. Okay, how else? Working with sellers, just in case you guys didn't know that. Wow, we have the wrong topic, Paul. We need to get that topic on the agenda if we ever do this again. Yes, okay, so there's 2 ways to do it. So I'll just briefly tell you how you work with sellers, just so we have context, and then we'll get into our subject matter for today, how we work with buyers. So for sellers, you talk to someone who, you know, maybe they job transfer or they have a new baby coming, or, you know, hey, we're having twins, we need a bigger house, or we got to sell this one, and they call you and they're like, hey, we need to sell a house. And you say, great, that's excellent. I'm going to be driving by there in a little while and put the sign in the yard. And you drive by and put the sign in the yard, right? And then you go back to your office, and then you do that thing you do, and you're like, okay, who would want this house? And you magically figure out how you're going to get a buyer there. And then if you do find a buyer, then you call them back, and you're like, hey, I found someone that might be interested in your house. We'll be right over. Can we come in? Do we need to take our shoes off? And then you go, am I on the right track right here? No, thank you. No? What's wrong with that scenario?
Everything.
What? Why? Wait, what? What do you do different?
Yeah.
They call you and say, we think we want to sell your house. What do you do first?
Schedule an appointment.
Schedule an appointment, then what?
Thank God.
Gratitude is healthy, thank God. Then what do?
Sell yourself to them.
So you go on the appointment.
You better go.
You go to,
You must show up.
you go to the
You
house.
kind of have to
Yes.
show
Yes.
up.
Yes.
Then what do?
Then you sell yourself to
You
them.
sell yourself, and then what if they say yes? What do?
Ups.
Then you must.
Then you already
sign the
ready.
contract.
You're ready. You got that
You
contract
what?
right there with you.
You signed the contract, right?
Right there.
Do you have to legally sign a contract to sell a house in advance as a real estate agent? No.
In advance, no.
No, not at all. You can knock on someone's door and sell a house if you're a fully licensed real estate agent or broker in the state of Florida. But you're telling me you make them sign a contract.
To sell their house?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we
The
want to
listing
have
is
a
the
listing, right?
Oh, you guys are hardcore. I don't know if I could practice that way. That's crazy. So, and then what do?
Upload it in the
Yeah.
MLS.
Then you get those beautiful
Photos.
pictures, so you get a photographer. So there are people.
Wow, there is a long
Yeah.
process to this.
Yeah, you get
Okay, well, I'm going to have to research this and come back and do a talk on this and figure out what you guys are talking about. Because here's what I see with buyers. Hey, we want to buy a house. Oh, you do? Oh, get in the car. Let's go. This is going to be great. How's Saturday? Saturday morning, I'll meet you at 8. I have 107 houses to show. You need to see all of them. Oh, did I show you the park? The park is great. Let's go. Get in. I've got drink boxes for your kids. It'll be excellent. And Sunday, all afternoon on Sunday, it's just it's fine. I typically go to church, but that's fine. We're just going to go see more houses. What are you doing? Yeah. And you spend the next month with them. You drive them around, you know everything about them. And then they don't call you back one day.
right.
Hey, where are you guys? Haven't seen you. What's going on? And you get a voicemail later from them because they called you at 3 a.m. Hey, thanks for everything. You were great. We love you. My cousin just got her license and we bought a house on Friday.
Yeah.
We stopped by a new community and we wrote a contract with the site agent. Does this sound familiar?
Unfortunately.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here, that you know what I'm talking about, because let me tell you, this good news, there's a better way to do it. And then I coach these people and they come into my office and they say things to me. They say things to me that I try not to get angry, but sometimes it's hard and sometimes I spew. Yeah, it's usually just me and Melanie when I do that. But sometimes I'm just like, ugh. Come on, you've heard it before. Buyers are liars. Buyers are liars. They're terrible people. They wasted my time. And you know why I don't get hired as a coach usually when that happens? And they're not willing to pay my fee is because I'm like, it's your fault.
Right. Absolutely.
You are the professional, you have the license.
You gotta train them.
Okay, so that's a great way to contextualize everything, but think about this. Taking responsibility for everything. If you get that point in your life, you will have a good life. And I'd like you, if you're writing, taking notes, write that down. Take responsibility for everything. And I realize that's, that goes way, way back into human psychology. I am responsible for every man. And it is true. Carl Jung, I think. And if you really grasp the power behind that, does that mean you're responsible for everything? No. It's a mindset that you wire into your mind so that when something goes wrong, you are then able to go inside your brain and say, how did I cause this? And it's like, well, maybe I didn't. They ran a red light and hit me. So that's a perfect example of something that's not your fault. So how do you use that to learn next time? You know what? I'm going to be more alert when I drive. And my wife's new vehicle has this feature, and when I send her a text and she's driving, it instantly texts back and says, sorry, driving.
Yeah.
Not looking at text while I'm driving. Okay, so it's just one of those things. And it comes into play in your real estate career if we're talking about making more money in less time with less effort and less time spent, then this is where we get down to brass tacks. So So let's talk about it. I made some promises. Did anybody read the event page? Just make sure, in case I could skip a couple. But I made a few promises. One of them is the number one secret of success for working with buyers. And the second one was the number way to have all the buyer leads you can handle. Who has all the buyer leads they can possibly handle right now? No one. Okay. All right. And how to virtually eliminate the number one frustration when working with buyers. And the last one, how to give the very best customer service and create customers for life. I'm so glad I read all four of those because I meant to say at the beginning, what's the point of all this? We've talked about us and we're important. We're an important part of the process. But in reality, the reason that I get up and go to work today, and on my team, we always, when we're having issues or whatever, the day's busy, we always go back to what is absolutely the best for this customer. How do we do the right thing even when it's hard, and we do the right thing for the customer? Because giving the customer the best service is what we're in business for, and that means helping them buy a house that fits in their price range and meets their needs, right? Or helping them sell their house for the most money a buyer is willing to pay. That is what my job is when I go to work for someone. And do I still protect my self-interest? Yes, because that's the way that I stay healthy and can continue to practice the business. So what we're going to talk about right now is, in some ways intentionally, but some of it's a little prickly, but I want you to get that where I'm going with this is the way that I believe you will give the best customer service ever if you follow the program that I'm going to lay out for you. And so, the number one secret for success in working with buyers is stop working with them. Go take listings.
Yeah.
Go out and take listings. Okay, that is where it is at. Go get the inventory. There is nothing better than having the inventory. I had, at one point, and this is another story, but I had 45 listings at one time.
Oh my gosh.
And this was the day when they had to call for appointments. In the 2000s, we'd call for appointments or set it up. So I was getting calls all weekend on the beach or on my back porch or doing whatever the heck I wanted to do while the other real estate agents were frantically running people around town showing them houses. Guess who had them listed? I did. So it was great. I hired a buyer's agent. She was out sometimes on the weekends, but the whole point is master the art of taking listings. So what was the other thing I promised? The number one way to have all the buyer leads you can handle. You want to write this one down. Okay. That answer to that is take listings. Take saleable listings. And if they don't sell, lower the price. All right, thanks for coming, everyone. I appreciate you guys being here today. It was a great time. Andrew Sprinkle and I have been working together for 2 years, and we have this ongoing conversation in our office, so don't think it's just you. We have this ongoing conversation about working with buyers versus working with sellers, and when he gets a chance, something great happens with a buyer, he makes sure he tells me. And when he has a problem with a buyer, I can make sure I tell him we should be taking the listings. And it's really some creative conflict that makes us both better. But the point of the matter is when you do have an opportunity to talk with a buyer the first time, what do you say? What do you say when they first call you? Okay, that's a terrible thing to say first. Okay, but it is something you have to say eventually. Okay, so this is what I want to bring you in, and I want to bring you into the idea of what is your first responsibility. If you're writing this down, bullet point number 1, your first responsibility when someone says they want to buy a house is to set an appointment. Set an appointment with them. The ideal situation is that you set an appointment to meet in your office. Okay? So you set an appointment and you bring them into your office and you meet with them there. Now, why would this be a helpful thing versus, hey, we just picked out 3 houses, we want to go see them. What time in 15 minutes can you go? Why would it be better to bring them in the office first? One of you guys said it a minute ago. Are you pre-qualified? Have you called Mortgages by Linda Or what are my other lenders here? Okay, Amy's back there. Amy's got a closing with me tomorrow. Amy's here. And who else? Someone else had their hand. Oh, there you are. There you are. Tell us who you are.
Rachel with Academy Mortgage.
Rachel with Academy Mortgage. I'm so glad you were here. And we're new. We just met. So I don't know Rachel yet, but I think she's going to be great. So we've got,
She is great.
these are the people that we have to lean on in these situations. Because they are, look at them, they are kind and helpful people. They will answer that question for you before you go out and show houses. So set an appointment and bring them into the office. Now, when I say that, a lot of times I can kind of see the wall go up, like, wow, I'm really not that confident to tell someone you have to meet in my office or I'm not going to work with you. You need to be really serious about this if you want to save your time. However, you also need to be kind. And sometimes that means, hey, yes, I can show you that in 2 hours. I need to go over a few of the details first. Could we meet at Starbucks? It's actually just a couple miles from the house. Can we meet there for 20 minutes before we go to the house? And maybe that will work, maybe it won't. Or maybe it's, okay, I'm going to meet you at that house. I'd love to meet you in person. I'm changing. This is a level shift. I'm shifting it from showing you a house to I would love to meet you and talk about the purchase of your upcoming property. Let's just meet at that house. You're taking the control. It's called pacing and leading. You're taking control and saying, yes, absolutely, I want to accommodate you and meet at the house. Because what if you meet them and they're completely not qualified?
Right.
It happened the first time. You've made a new friend and you don't know. If they meet you and they feel your Ness, do you know what that is? That's your name plus Ness. When they feel your Abby Ness, they're obviously going to work with you and they really want to buy a house. Your Brett Ness, you bring it and they're like, okay, I met the person I'd like to buy a house from. I need to clear up my credit report and I've got someone that can help me do that, but today I'm not buying a house, and that's a great chance for you to meet them. So I want to say be flexible. You know, if I'm hardcore with you, I'm saying get them into the office. And there's another rule to write down about real estate, and that is when you generate, you don't have to tolerate. When you are generating a demand for your time for people who are qualified, motivated, and eager to work with you, then when people call you and they're like, we ain't coming into no office, we just won't see that house right now. I don't care what you're trying to trick me, I can tell already you flaky. Probably drive a Prius too, don't you? And it's like, when you get those guys and you can just smile and go, you know what, I've got 5 other people waiting for this time slot on my schedule, so if you don't want it, I'm going to have to give it to one of those guys. You got 3 seconds. You know, so when you generate, you don't have to tolerate. How many of you are good at what you do? Okay, everybody's hand should go up right now. You're here. You're the chosen ones. People who are not good at this, they don't go to things like this. They don't want to know. They already know everything, and they live for the chance to be like, yeah, buyers, I can't stand them. You know, and it's like, no, this is a great business. We get to help people with this huge decision, and it makes a huge difference. So, go to a coffee shop, whatever. Just never commit before your buyer listing appointment. So the second thing I wrote down is, the first thing is set an appointment. The second thing is interview them. You've got to flip the script in your mind to, oh my gosh, I need another buyer. Like, my BMW payment's due on the 14th and I only got one closing. I don't know what to do. If you're desperate like that, how many of you have ever been single adults? Raise your hand. Oh, okay. You've been single adults. You know what that's like. And okay, for you ladies, there's more women in here than men. How attractive is the desperate guy at the cocktail party? He's standing there hiding behind his beer, gawking at all the women. How attractive is that? It's not attractive at all. Not that I'm speaking from experience. But how attractive are the guys that you see at the cocktail party that come in and they're clearly having fun and they look sharp so that you know they take care of themselves and they're having a blast and you can just tell that they're brought the party with them. Now those are the guys you want to hang out with, or vice versa. Those are the people that are the most, like you want to be like, hey, they're having all kinds of fun. What are they doing over there? They're laughing and joking and having a good time, and they're telling good stories to each other, and I'm kind of picturing the business after hours scene in my mind, and it's like, well, that's the same in any human interaction. When you're confident about what you're able to provide, and you like what you do, and you know how to do it, then all of a sudden you're just attracting the right buyers and sellers to work with you because of who you're being more than what you're doing. So the interview is your chance to sit down with them and ask them a series of intentional questions to help you know how to diagnose the solution. You don't go to a doctor and you walk in and say, hey, I'm here because, and he's like, oh, no, I got it. Here, take these. And here's a script. Go take these. And you're like, why are you giving me antidepressants? No, it's just think about it. It's like, you diagnose before you prescribe. They may want a house that doesn't exist. I want a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home in St. Johns County, and I'm willing to spend up to $125,000. Linda's going to do the loan.
Oh, thanks.
And I'm already yeah, exactly. I'm already pre-qualified on the internet.
Right.
I do need to add this in there. I generate, so I don't have to tolerate it.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Yes. True story. Met in my office. Folder. Pretty well-dressed lady. Folder. House she wants to see and write an offer on. And I wouldn't show it until we had the conversation. I'm not making this up. This isn't motivational speaker stuff right here. I was newer in the industry, but my coach had been just like, do it, do it, do it. And I'm like, all right. And so in the office, I start asking her the questions, which are written down in a script, because that's the only way you can really remember to get all of them, because you only need to miss 1 or 2, right? And waste like a month of your life because you missed 1 or 2. Oh, I didn't ask if you had a bankruptcy, did I? It's like, all right. So, how much are you going to put down? Oh, I'm paying cash. Okay, now usually that is a trick for real estate agents, because usually they're like, you're paying cash, let's go! Okay, I'm going to need a proof of funds when we submit an offer, so can you tell me where the money's coming from? Oh yeah, it's good, I have it, it's secured, and it'll be a cashier's check. I'm like, okay, but I need to know where it's from and all that, and I kept pushing in. She opens her folder, she had just won the Ukrainian lottery.
Oh my God. Oh, wow.
She had an email string of where she'd already given her application of $2,000 so that the money could be transferred to her account. And she had the paperwork for all this. So if you have, like the Fletcher Group does, we have a list of preferred providers in there. Psychotherapist is one that you need to really, and the sad thing is that she was serious.
That's sad.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And I did my best. I was like, this is a scam. And she was like, no, it's not. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to be the one to break this bubble. And I don't want my pet rabbit boiled in a pot or anything weird like that. So I'm just going to let you go because I'm afraid I can't help you with this. But that all came because of the interview. So you have to do the interview. You have to bring them in. You have to ask them the questions. That is a crazy story, isn't it?
Yes.
Very.
So,
What if you have, sorry.
no, ask questions.
Somebody, because, a lot of out-of-town buyers.
Yes.
So you're just doing that interview over the phone, essentially. You're not able to meet with them in person.
Excellent,
They want you to
excellent question.
Look at houses for you.
Yeah, we're coming in on Friday. We've only got 4 or 5 days to make a decision. Yeah, that's a very great question. Yes, we qualivate them over the phone. Qualivate is a term that we created at the Fletcher Group a long time ago, 15 years ago. It's a two words. When you take 2 words and you put them together and you combine their meaning also, it's called a portmanteau. And we took qualification and motivation. So if they're qualified, they have enough money to buy a house, and they're motivated, there's a reason that they need to buy a house. Then you have your qualification sheet, and you ask them the questions on the phone ahead of time. And if they're serious, they will respect you for it. I mean that very seriously. If they are serious, they will not balk. Why the heck are you asking me about my personal finances? Well, you want to look at $500,000 houses this weekend, right? So no seller of a $500,000 house would like someone to come in that hasn't been properly interviewed by a real estate professional. But I'm sure there's some agents out there that wouldn't do that. If you'd like some phone numbers, I can give them to you.
Wow.
You know, you just have to be, they will respect you for being confident in your business. So that's a great question. Does that answer it?
Yes.
Do it over the phone, absolutely. And then the next thing is that Stephanie, I think it was saying when she takes a listing, she signs a listing agreement. Do all of you do that, or is it just her? Okay, so how many of you have taken a buyer out without signing a buyer agreement? Oh, raise your hands, everybody, other than people who don't show houses. Right? You're taking it out. Why are you doing that? Remember I said it might be a little prickly? This is that part. Why are you doing that? Why are you taking them out? Really, I want to know.
Has that.
What's that?
Not every real estate firm has, I know Vanguard does, but I don't think I ever saw one at my previous buyer's agreement.
The NEFAR MLS does, .loop does, and the Florida Association of Realtors does.
Okay.
So, but I really want to know why you wouldn't sign a contract with the buyer.
Bad habit.
It's a bad habit. That's the right answer. Yes. But why else? Come on, you guys. Don't. I'm
It scares
shy. Shyness. What is
It
that?
scares them, so you're just like, oh, I'll just go ahead and be.
It scares them, but you don't know it's going to scare them because you haven't tried it yet. But in your mind, in your hallucination, it scares them. Okay, gotcha. All right. I knew you could take it. So,
Existed.
what's that?
I didn't know it existed until I.
Didn't know it existed. Yeah, absolutely. No one said anything about it.
Oh, but on a serious note, and when you talk to the more, shall I say, successful agents, really, you're finding that they're not doing. They don't do it.
Oh,
They don't
right.
spend that time. So you're like, well, how are they?
So you're talking, she just said, when you talk to the more successful agents, you find that they're not doing it. And I want to push back on that a little bit because number one, she's right. That very few people do it, and even the more successful agents. But who's a successful agent? And what do you compare them to say they're successful? This is going to be big. You're going to want to write this down. How do you compare, who do you compare yourself to know if you're successful? Yeah, well, that's just it. Is it the top producer in your office, top producer in the
And that's
board of
exactly-
realtors, top producer in the country?
They're top producers in the office, top producers
Right.
in the company. Yeah.
Here, I want you to write down the name of your nemesis. This is your Joker and you're the Batman.
Okay.
This is your nemesis. It's called your capacity. Your capacity. I was so thrilled when I figured out, when I do with my coaching clients and with my team, and some of them I've had to push a little, and they're like, and Sprinkle actually said to me, I'm not doing any more personality profiles for at least a year. I'm going to do this one, and then I'm done for a year. And I'm like, fair enough, okay? Because I do these personality profiles in different levels, and we're out of time, so that's a different subject. But when my coach looked at me and said, you have the capacity to be a good real estate agent, possibly very good real estate agent. You'll never be a great real estate agent. It's not very motivational. It's like, no, look at this. Inspiring other people to be great agents, you can be the best in the world at that. You have the raw material. You're not yet. He made sure I was clear on that. You have the raw material if you develop your skills and you work really hard and you read books and you study and you focus. You will be able to help people go from generally good to very great if you really focus on your skill set. So when you're thinking about buying and selling, whatever it is you're doing right now to develop your brokerage, your real estate sales business, your team, when you're thinking about that, your competitor is your capacity. If you're capable of selling 100 homes a year and you sell 70, that's very good, but it's not your best. If you're capable of doing 20 homes a year and you do 19, man, that's a great year. Ramp it up 10% next year. Figure out what you did well and do it better. You know, but it's not the outside in that really makes the great among us. It's the people that stood like Richard Branson with a sign because they were all trapped at an airport one day and no one had a way to get out of there. And he said, Virgin Airline flights on a piece of cardboard. He didn't have a plane yet, but he knew if he got like 20 people, he could rent a plane. So he got 20 people to agree to pay X amount of dollars, and they broke it up by 20, and he rented a private plane and flew them all off this island they were kind of trapped on because of the whatever situation. And hence we have Virgin Atlantic. Do you know what I just paid to fly to London and back? More than 20. More than 20. Okay, and I flew on Virgin Atlantic and it was awesome. So your capacity is what you're competing with. So when it comes to the buyer agreement, think of this, and I really want you to listen. Every business relationship starts with laying out the expectations. And if you don't lay out the expectations of you and the buyer as to how you work, when you're available, what they should expect from you, you will lose more times than you win. And what about the customer? We all say this, I give great customer service. Well, do you if you're not telling them how you get paid in the beginning? You know, I've got 2 stories from just the last year when I was like, that's my buddy, it'll be fine. 2. And he bought a house one weekend. I showed him houses, Sprinkle showed him a couple of houses. We got his financing was a wreck. We got his business together, we got his financing, and he bought from someone else. He went out and bought from someone else. Why? Whose fault is that? Right here. Right here. I took a shortcut. And if you haven't learned this, the longest distance between 2 points is a shortcut. Exactly. So getting together with them. Now, I get this pushback a lot that making them sign a contract to tie them to you, okay, that's just a misunderstanding. In Florida, I don't think the contracts are legally enforceable, but the fact of the matter is if you have that conversation with someone about how you get paid, when you get paid, what to do if they want to see new construction and they're driving by a new home community, it's very simple. Hey, Mr. DeLand, I'm Bob, this is Mary, and we're working with Abby Rice, and she's not available today, so we were dropping by. We'd like to look at your models. Is that okay? You train them to say that. And what's Paul going to do? Cut you out of the deal? No.
I don't want those referrals.
He wants that one plus the next 5 that Abby's working with, right? And that's what it's all about. And you teach them in the front end, and then the contract just puts that in writing. And here's the one thing that comes up. This is bonus. When it comes to for sale by owners, or when it comes to spineless commission cutting firms. I was supposed to take that out. Okay, hang on. Everybody. Here's the thing. When you generate, you don't have to
Tolerate.
So be in demand at a level where you can say to them, and all commissions are negotiable, so I'm going to pull a random commission out of the air because we're many different firms and it violates the Sherman Antitrust Act if we talk about our actual commissions. So if I earn 4% on every deal, and that's what I want to earn on every deal, I say to my customer, Melanie, when I sell you a house, I am going to earn 4%. Many times the seller pays that entire amount based on the MLS. But in the fact that maybe there's the perfect house for you that I drive by and I see it's a for sale by owner and they refuse to pay any money, no matter what the price, then we're going to have to put that 4% on your side of the transaction. But you do want me to tell you about that house, don't you? Say yes.
Yes.
Yes, use your words. and the same thing, okay? If we get a house that's perfect for you and it's the perfect price and it's only paying 2% and we've already agreed that I'm earning 4%, we're going to have to take the other 2% off of your side of the transaction. It's simple. The lenders will do it and they will put it together on the Alta so you can see all those figures before we close.
Word is that.
And you guys are looking at me like a cow watching a train go by. Now, I realize that you probably won't go out and do that this afternoon. I just want to put it in your mind that you deserve to get paid. Who's ever gone to the doctor, gotten their prescription. Oh, wow, that cut on your hand, it's infected. You're going to need some antibiotics. And you go back a week later after buying the antibiotics and say, hey, those didn't work. I'm not paying the bill. I mean, who's ever... I'm an insulin-dependent diabetic for 30 years. It takes a team of medical professionals just to get me up in the morning. And every time I go, I have to pay, regardless of the result. And it is okay for you to decide to only work when you get paid. So if you are going to get stuck on that, then I'm just saying do it with your choice. Because then if you do take less or whatever, it's your choice. And you can just be like, yeah, I decided to do that. And I've done that before too. I've done that before for sure. I've cut commission because I wanted to. But the time that I hate it is when someone else does it for me, because then I feel like, you know what, I'm better than that. I have a greater capacity for that. And I give really good customer service. So that's a little, let me give you the, and I'm going to give, this will be the last point because of time, but you can do most of your searching in the office now. You know that, right? We all know since Al Gore invented the internet, we have, we have the capacity to do most of our showings in the office. So everything I've said so far, how long does that take out of your day? It's not a trick question.
An hour.
Hour, couple hours. You've met in the office, you've gone over everything, you've met them, you know their stuff, you've made a phone call, and you've got Amy on the phone and got him qualified, which is the closing we're having tomorrow. Literally sitting in the office, called Amy, got him qualified, now we're closing. It's been 30 days later. What you have to set the level of expectation. And we have a script. If you're interested in it, I'm happy to share it with you. It is something I created, but I learned all of it from other coaches, the basics of it. But it's asking the question. The closing question is, Krista, if we found a home that met yours and Mark's needs and fit into your price range this Friday to when we're going out, if we find the right home and it's just what you're looking for, what will you do?
Move forward on it.
What does move forward on it look like?
Put an offer in on it.
You'll make an offer. You'll buy the house? Okay, great. So make sure you have your checkbook. We're going to need probably at least $2,500 earnest money, and let's go buy your house. Isn't that different than, okay, we're going to see houses on Saturday? No, we're not going to go see houses. We're going to go buy one. Because I just sat in the office with you and we looked at, there's 6 houses on the market that meet your criteria. Okay? 2 of them just went under contract, which leaves 4. I'm a broker, I can do the math. At least 4. And out of those 4, you're going to choose one of those, right? Mark, are you ready to buy your new house? You said you wanted that 3rd stall in the garage, right? Yes. 4 of them. We better get moving. Yeah, and have it. Now, advanced technique. Again, little bonus. Advanced technique. When I got super busy with buyers, this is how I did my buyer qualification in my office at Impact Real Estate in Michigan. Was I took their binder deposit as a non-refundable broker fee on the time we signed the contract. So our average sales price was $100,000 in my town. So I grew up in a very wealthy town. And so when I tell people I sold 72 houses a year in that first year I got into the business, and 75 the next 2 years, it's like, wow, you must have been rich. I'm like, it's like made it to middle class really well. But and I would just say, it's a $1,500. I'll take your $1,500 binder deposit now. It will sit in my broker's trust account until we write an offer, and then it will apply towards your binder deposit, which we call it an escrow deposit. And so I took that in the beginning. Now, if you back out of the contract and buying in the next 3 months, I'm going to keep the $1,500 for my broker fee. And when I got really confident about it, I never had anybody have a problem. They're like, oh, that's fine. Here you go. And then, of course, I kept it once. I think I kept it one time because their situation changed and they ended up not buying a house, and I think I gave them $750 back because we'd been working for a month on their project, and they're like, oh man, you don't have to give us any of it back. I'm like, no, I think that's fair for both of us. And I gave them half of it back, and then I got compensated for my time. And everyone was super happy about it. So that's just a little bonus. Have I helped you see anything beyond what you thought when you came in today?
Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. Anyone else? Yeah. Does anyone think, this guy's nuts, I'm never doing that? So that is how to be successful working with buyers. And then go ahead. I would just want to open it up for any questions. Take listings, yes. Take listings. So if anyone asks, what was the takeaway today? It was take listings. We've got a couple minutes left, and I'll be done. But any questions, comments, hallucinations?
Don't forget about the referral commission.
Remember the referral commission. Yes.
Always ask if they got a place to buy or a place to sell. Come up.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. That's great. Yes.
So many do it for you.
That is so true. Yeah. Get the referral. Get that on there. Where do you practice real estate?
Florida.
No, all over.
Everywhere.
You see my card? It says Earth. But when there's licensing law on the moon or Mars, I'm there. Anywhere in the world, baby. I made it a specific plan to go visit the Coldwell Banker office right in the middle of London. And meet the broker, take a picture, put it on Facebook. What do you think is going to happen at tax time about that trip?
Hello.
Absolutely. It's a business trip. I brought listings back. I've got some great deals right along the Thames, under $2 million right now I can hook you up with. They're buying instant equity. So, so remember those referrals. That's great, Mike. Anybody else? Questions, comments? Come on. Concerns?
When's your next class? When do we sign up for coaching? All that good stuff. All of
I'm
that.
so glad you brought that up. I am available as a one-on-one coach or a team coach, building a team, and we work through the basics of selling real estate. We practice the basics, and my coaching is different than Tom's or Mike's or any of the other people because I work with individuals. Even if I'm working with a team of 5, we break down the individuals so we can work on your strengths. We identify your strengths, and we focus on your strengths. We identify your weaknesses, and we manage around them. So it's not a situation where you come in your coaching, and it's like, wow, you're really bad at this. Let's focus on this every week. That does not make you look forward to a coaching call. Nagging is not coaching, okay? I'm stopping right there. Thank you for that. On your evaluation forms, please, thank you, Melanie, for that signal. If you would please fill those out. If you'd like a little bit of follow-up, I would be happy to talk with you about it. There's no obligation. I don't push it. I don't push my coaching hard. There's no hard sell. It's not like Tony Robbins. I'm just totally doing this because I want to be helpful. And every time I help you be successful, remarkably, I become more successful. So if you would fill those out, please, that would be great. And hand them to Melanie on your way out today. But before I go, Laura, tell us, I want to introduce Laura Radiclev, who's partially responsible for putting this on, and see if Paul has any closing thoughts. So Laura, you have anything to add?
I just think that in the confidence aspect that Fletch was talking about is the first thing that I always try to share with my new agents as they get their license, right? We're all nervous, we don't know what to do. And the best thing that Fletch mentioned is to really get to know yourself and what your strengths are. So I encourage everyone to take a personality test. I know we joke about it because Fletch always, analyzes it. But at the same time, it's great. Your personality changes as you develop and go into different career paths. So I encourage all of you to do a personality test and get to know your strengths, and then follow up with that as to real estate is a great business because you can cater it to your strengths. Whatever you like about the business, you can focus on that. So it's a great field, and just enjoy it.
Yeah, contact and I can connect you with that. Any other brokers in the room? Oh, thank you. Mike is a broker back there. He's a broker owner, Remax Connects. Mike, you got a good word or anything for us today?
No, I think more than enough.
All right, you've talked enough, Fletcher. All right, I love it. Lenders, Amy, got a good word or anything to say today? Amy from TIAA.
About
Anything, just, I'm putting you on the
It's
spot.
important to have buyers pre-approved. I commend that because there's a lot of times where you do waste time and I get calls and I'm like, Fletcher, you shouldn't have. Should have taken that buyer out.
You can tell her
it's
she
very,
said
very
that
important.
before.
It doesn't cost them anything to get pre-approved if they're not pre-approved, you know, so it's very important.
And my new friend, how about you?
My new friend
Rachel. My new friend Rachel.
I think it's important to work with a transparent lender, very much what she said, because if you have to have transparency in your conversation with regard to the buyer's ability to buy and what challenges we may face, and specifically what challenges need to be addressed in the contract. So those are, you want to interview your lender as well, I think. You know, what's going on here? What kind of challenges are we facing? Are there any specific needs that we need to address in the contract? Because you want to address those up front and not after the fact. It's a much more pleasant transaction for all involved.
Love it. Thank you, Rachel, so much. And Linda, what do you have to say today? Anything?
A great opportunity for your buyer to have their credit pulled only once and be able to shop around with multiple lenders would be coming to a broker like myself. We have 15 lenders and we pull credit once and then we shop all of our lenders. So that's helping our buyers their score not to be lowered.
Excellent.
And then we do the research. We find the best rates. We give them options from several different lenders and
Excellent. Well, I'm so glad you were here today.
yes, thank you for the invite.
And you're newer.
Newer.
This is your second one of these that that she's made you come to. Did you get in trouble or something? Is that- That's what happened. Remind me your name?
Alicia.
Alicia. Okay, I can remember that if Melanie writes it down.
One thing, Fletch.
Yes, sir.
One thing I thought about when you were, before you put me on the spot, and that was when you were talking about, you know, your buyer presentation and getting them in the office to do it.
Yeah.
Resist the temptation with the millennials, it's text messaging, it's email, it's instant messaging or whatever. Your highest probability of converting a customer is going to be when you've got them face to face. The next highest is going to be on the phone, then text message, then email. So
That's it.
resist that temptation to just communicate by text message or email because they will go away because they're not bonding with you at that point. They're just exchanging emails. They may be a little bit, but you get my point.
I get your point. It's that it is that thing.
The office consultation is the number one thing that you can do in that buyer process.
That's good. Thank you for that, Mike.